it's time to go around the National, and of course, we are less than 24 hours removed from the NHL's draft lottery. Our colleagues, Jamie Hirsch, Kevin Weeks, big part of that, to find out which team would select first overall at this year's draft. Let's find out who won.
The first overall selection in the 2022 NHL draft belongs to the Montreal Canadiens, which means number 2, the New Jersey Devils.
All right, so here's a... Oh, go ahead.
I just got to say, I thought Bill Daly brought a lot of drama to the table this year.
Yeah, he did.
Because every year I think he amps it up a little bit. I thought he was maybe at his best ever.
Lots to be said about the way that you set the card down on the table.
A little drama.
You want it to slow, but not too slow.
Too slow, exactly.
You want people to anticipate a little bit.
Kudos to the deputy commissioner. Well done.
I happen to love Bill Daly, so.
Yeah, so do I. That's
we're
not ripping him.
No, I know. But I'm agreeing.
He was brutal. I mean, I was waiting forever for that card.
In general, loves the game.
Yeah. He's the best. He's the best.
He certainly does.
Yeah.
All right. So the Montreal Canadiens get the first overall pick at the upcoming draft. Let's hear from Ken Hughes.
I think it's obviously a very exciting outcome for us. Our fans, I'm sure, will be thrilled. Especially with the draft being held in Montreal, to have that kind of anticipation and excitement leading into it. So we've talked a lot about the culture that we need, and you don't have that type of culture as a team if you don't have character in your players. We're excited. I think it's a great opportunity for our organization to start taking strides towards returning to the playoffs here.
All right, so there is Mr. Hughes on the big selection coming up. Well, for viewers at home that are watching that aren't familiar with the draft class, why don't we start there? Like, who is the projected first overall pick, and what kind of player is he? Should Montreal select him?
Well, it's Shane Wright, and he has been the projected #1 overall pick now, going back a couple of years. And so when you've been in that position, everybody watches you over and over and over and over, and they overscout you, quite frankly. And if you have any slippage at all in your game, people are like, hey, maybe he's not that good. But this is a very good player, and some have compared him to, and again, you compare, you're not saying he's going to be the same player, because we're talking about great players, but some have compared him to a Patrice Bergeron-type player. So, if you're the Montreal Canadiens and you have Suzuki there, and you could add a player like Shane Wright, and he is indeed someone that could play that type of game, even if he's not as good as Bergeron down the road, that's someone you'd love to have there. So you can see the numbers there with Kingston in the Ontario League. He's been a terrific player. I suspect, looking at Montreal's team, I don't think there's any reason to go away from Shane Wright. But the one thing I would caution people again is that because he has been the presumptive #1 in this draft class for more than almost 2 or 3 years, it seems like, there will be a lot of people trying to pick apart his game. I think he's probably going to be just fine in the National Hockey League, and I suspect the Canadiens will probably take him.
All right. Well, you want to talk about #2? No.
Just pretty pumped that my New Jersey Devils
I knew you wanted to talk Devils.
#2.
It's very rare that EJ finishes his thought.
I know.
You're silent.
I know.
Like you have nothing to say.
I'm keeping to myself.
Hey.
I stay in my lane when I know I have to, Jackie.
Oh, listen, smart.
But having said that, obviously, look, my relationship with the Devils over the years, I'm pretty excited that they got #2, and it was interesting to hear Dave Pagnotta talk about, the Devils want to get better because they've got a pretty good core nucleus of young players ready to, they think, take that next step.
What could they use,
But now that you jump to #2, now it's a different scenario. If they were 5, 6, 7, maybe you start thinking about throwing in that draft pick for something now, an established NHL player or two. #2, I heard there's a pretty big forward out there that the Devils could really
from Slovakia.
Use. From Slovakia. And, I don't scout them. I'm not speculating. But when you're 6'4", 220 pounds already, and have top 6 ability, can handle the puck, score, play with a little jam, that's kind of the player the Devils would need, in my estimation. So Slafkovsky's right up there at the top, and now that they have #2 pick overall, that would be interesting to see if he is the guy. Like I said, I'm sure they scout these guys.
There's a lot of players
every day 364 days. In fact, maybe for 762 days, and they'll figure that out. But that's just food for thought.
Well, why don't we cap this draft conversation with a funny moment or tweet that you saw making the rounds on Twitter?
Well, the Devils have Jack Hughes, but there's another Jack Hughes, and it's the son of Kent Hughes. And you can see here Kent Hughes joking that his draft-eligible son, Jack, who goes to Northeastern, he won't be taken number 1 overall. And he's quoted, "I can promise you that." And then his son weighs in, "Big mistake." So I like that. I like a little gumption there. But yeah, the other Jack Hughes is also a very good player. I guess we've had a run on Jack Hughes these days. And he's a very good player.
We can't get enough of Hugheses.
That's right. And I think that that Kent's son will be a first-round pick. I don't think, obviously, he has said as much he won't be taken first overall. I think that's probably for the best, even if he was a really talented guy that you consider at that level. But he's a good player, and somebody's going to get a good player there. But I thought that was hilarious that his son weighed right in.
Well played.
Yes, good job, Jack.
That Jack Hughes, who is, by the way, projected to go late in the first round.
There you go.
As you mentioned, Eej. All right, let's get back to the NHL and the guys that are playing right now in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Canes Bruins in action last night. I called Game 4 the Lambeau game, and I guess Game 5 was kind of the Prius game.
The Prius game, yeah.
Vinny had a good game.
Vinny Chocek responded to that. That's the ongoing battle that we go back to during the season when I guess was Brad Marchand said he's a Lamborghini and a Prius, whatever it was at the time. But the Carolina Hurricanes played well in this game, and you know what? Antti Raanta really, I thought, was the difference early. The Boston Bruins had a couple of really good chances early, including one by Brad Marchand right in front of the net. You're going to watch this play unfold, and Marchand's going to sneak in front, get this puck. Look at all this time.
Oh, no.
And you know, this is a guy who has 8 points in the last 2 games, and Antti Raanta stays right with him and gets that glove eye. That's a great stop by Raanta there. He made some other good stops early, one on Bergeron, one on Chris Wagner. And then Carolina kind of found their footing and got the 2-0 lead after 1, and they took off from there. But Antti Raanta, as I've always said, Dano, when he's healthy, he's really good. And like you can see here, .942 save percentage, pretty darn good.
Real good. Did you notice the focus? I was really looking at his head there. And the focus. He had his eyes on that puck. Where's Marchand going here? I'm going to stay with him. I love the focus. Look, that's why they... One more look at it. Watch his head movement here. I really took a look at this. He's tracking the play. He knows where everything is. Marchand all alone. What a pass by Pastrnak. But he just had razor-sharp focus. Look at the head. Look at... He's looking at the puck. He knows exactly where it's going. Doesn't lose it for a second. And then he's able to stay with Marchand and make a beautiful left arm save. But I always thought they were fine with Raanta in net despite Anderson going down. And that's why they signed 2 new guys in the offseason. Terrific job by Don Waddell. You got Anderson, who had a Vezina-type season, and then you have Antti Raanta, who, yes, if he could stay healthy,
that's the thing.
He's a pretty darn good goaltender in this league, and he was terrific last night again, especially early. You always talk about it, Jackie, timely saves. Not how many saves, but timely ones. And then Carolina really got their footed. Got their feet underneath them, as we like to say, and when they get rolling at home, they're tough.
They're really good at home, and you know, at the other end of the rink, Jeremy Swayman, he let one kind of leak through him a little bit off the. It's just like it went off his blocker. Jacob Slavin with a shot from the off-wing side, lefty shooter from the right side. It just kind of trickled over the line, so that gave Carolina got the crowd into it, got some momentum, and then Boston took a couple penalties, and on the second one, Tony DeAngelo made him pay with just a great one-timer from kind of middle point through traffic, and the Canes were off and running.
And I also mentioned, like maybe I'm going to give myself a little pat in the back. I mentioned before the playoffs, I said, watch Seth Jarvis. He's going to have an impact in the playoffs. He's going to have an impact in this series because I had watched him a couple of games down the stretch. And I'm going, this kid's the real deal. This kid can play. He can create. He can score. He's got ice water in his veins, as you like to say, for a young player, that he's ready for this moment. And he gets a couple of big goals as well last night.
Good response from Tony DeAngelo, I suppose, too, after Game 4, where he was a little off-kilter.
I always say, I mean, the guy is a terrific player, but you've got to stay kind of, and there's that goal that just goes off Swayman into the net. That's a tough one early in the game to give up. But for Tony DeAngelo, just try to keep your composure as best you can. I mean, everybody's different, and you know, it's well documented where he's been in his career with the different troubles. But he's a heck of a player, and if he just focuses on that, he'll be just fine.
One more on Antti Raanta too. Every time we talk about him, I think about when he was with the Coyotes, and Tyson Nash used to come on all the time and just sing his praises. He's so good. Like, I just wish the Coyotes could score goals in front of him, because he was just playing lights out when healthy, for the Coyotes. One more note on this series between Boston and Carolina. Of course, the Bruins picked up a couple of wins without their top two defensemen. Here's the latest. Bruce Cassidy, as of late Wednesday morning, said he expects both McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm will suit up for game number 6. The likely scratch, Riley or Grizzly.
That's a big one. If you know, because Grizzly has had some struggles certainly in the playoffs this year, and he's somebody you wouldn't think would come out. But they're in desperation mode now, so they're going to play the best 6 guys they think they have.
Yes. All right. Let's move on to the Blues and the Wild. They were in action last night as well. It was a night of Game 5s in all of the games last night. And Jordan Binnington, since coming in for the Blues, has done what he needed to do, which is keep the Blues in games, EJ.
Been terrific. I mean, I really, when you go back just a couple of weeks ago, I would have never imagined that this scenario would have played out.
Yeah.
Because Ville Husso has been so good this year, and he was the guy that got him here. But give Craig Berube a lot of credit. Husso struggled. They were down in the series. They needed a boost. This guy has done it before, and Jordan Binnington has come in, and he reminds us of the guy that we saw in 2019 when he led the Blues to a Stanley Cup. So .935 save percentage. They got behind in the game last night. He made some saves to keep it at 2-1. Then they were able to rattle off some goals and get the win. And you can see here, he now is the leader all time for Blues goaltenders with playoff wins with 18. And there's some familiar names on there. Greg Millen, Mike Liut, Curtis Joseph, Grant Fuhr. Those are some pretty good goalies.
It is. And I just like the fact that watching him play now, just the last couple of games, you feel it. You feel that confidence that he had in 2019.
Yeah.
That he's pumped to be back in the net. He was biding his time. They've got a great 1-2, or shall I say 1-1-8 tandem all season long.
Yeah.
Husso took over the net. Binnington waiting for his chance again, and he looks like vintage Binnington for the last couple of games. I was shocked. I mean, you're right. He kept them in it because Minnesota, I thought, and especially in that second period, up 2-1.
Once they got the lead,
could have been up 3-4, and they were flying, and they were physical, and they were taking the Blues at times, but Binnington kept them around. All of a sudden, third period, it was all Blues.
Yeah.
And they get the win. And Tarasenko, they were Tarasenko'd.
Yeah. Well, they were Tarasenko showed. They were Tarasenko showed.
But those two guys, Kaprizov and Tarasenko, what a show those guys put on last night.
Two superstars in their own right, that's for sure. And, you know, I came into this series calling it the 4-goalie series because I thought we would see all 4 goalies.
We got 3.
We've seen 3. So let's talk about the goaltending for the Minnesota Wild. Marc-Andre Fleury has been their guy in this postseason run. Here's a look at his numbers. Obviously, the record is a team record. Save percentage, .906. So what do you make of the way Fleury's played? You know, now you're going into a situation where you have to stave off elimination. Do you stick with Fleury in that situation? Do you make a change?
I think it's. I mean, let's face it. These guys are paid to play. So if they make a change, they make a change, and Talbot will relish the opportunity. But I think it's kind of late in the game now to put in a guy that hasn't played now in a couple of weeks in a situation where you have to win or you go home, right? So
Fleury,
I think it's kind of going to be Fleury's net. But again, I didn't think that Ville Husso, after just 2 games where things didn't go as well, would be out. But these coaches, I mean, obviously Craig Berube has won a cup, so he gets it. And Dean Evason's been around hockey a long time. He understands the moment here. So I think anything is possible. We'll see what happens in game number 6. But that would be asking a lot, Dano, for a guy who hasn't played in a couple weeks to come in and save your season at this point.
It would be, but we've seen stranger things happen.
We have.
Playoffs, and especially from the goaltending position where it's sometimes a hunch.
Yeah.
Talbot going to step in. He was pretty darn good for them.
He was.
Down the stretch, and he would relish the opportunity. And if they feel it's a tough spot, no question.
Tough.
And you would expect Fleury, who's had all this playoff success and been one of the best goaltenders in the game for the past 10, 15 years, they'd go with him. But if the coach gets a hunch, that's what happens every once in a while, and just looks at the demeanor of Talbot and goes, no, he's ready for this. We're down 3-2. We think he's going to get the job done. Then it's a possibility.
Yeah, I guess we'll wait to hear what the decision is from Dean Evason.
On the flip side, I know it was a loss, but Kirill Kaprizov.
Woo!
That guy is a stud.
That second goal he scored, I mean, this one, okay, it's a little through traffic there. He gets time to pull it back and snap it, as you can see right here. But the second one he scored, look where this puck is, Dano. And it's on the wrong foot. He's able to take it to the forehand.
Under duress, in traffic.
I don't know what to say about that shot. I mean, that's an incredible shot.
Not often you don't know what to say.
He gets it to the backhand of the forehand, and the release is remarkable, right, Eej?
Yeah, it's just and to hit that spot.
When you look at the goal leaders,
there it is.
Up at the top of the list with 7.
There it is.
So he is risen to the occasion for the Minnesota
Wild.
What a great player, to say the very least. And before we get to break 2, I keep saying on the flip side. I've said it about 4 times.
We got a lot of sides.
On the flip side again, Ryan O'Reilly having a good series for the St. Louis Blues. Just had a baby, I believe, as well. So congratulations to the O'Reilly family.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this. He has 44 points in 44 playoff games for the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
Something like that.
What a great acquisition.
He rises to the occasion, as we like to say.
Yeah. He's a
Ryan
competitor.
O'Reilly is a playoff player. He just is.
He's a competitor.
Leader. He's a competitor. Has a knack for raising his game offensively as well come playoff time. You got to love him.
And his mom seems like a very nice woman.
Yes,
saw her on
we
the
had the mom
broadcast
cam in Game 4.
on Mother's Day. She was on the camera a lot, and he was doing well in that game. So, he's something to watch.
There's certain players you just never worry about, even if they have seasons like this or have 1 point in their last 10 games down the stretch and aren't playing as well. There's just certain guys they are money come playoff time. I put Ryan O'Reilly in that category.
All right. Well, the St. Louis Blues will look to punch their ticket to the second round.